Hello, I'm Marcus Boston. Quick video today, and we are going to discuss the importance of fetal heart strips in the context of analyzing an HIE case. Want to know what I'm talking about? Stay with me as I share with you this really important information. So, from time to time, we will have individuals who will contact our office and they want to know initially on the, right off the bat, is my baby's HIE diagnosis because of something that the doctors or the hospital or the nurses did, or did something else cause my child to have to suffer this injury? And so I want to talk about that today, and I want to help you understand why the electronic fetal heart monitor, and in particularly what's being shown on the fetal heart strips, why that is so important in our analysis. So let me give you a working definition, or the context in which how we are going to use HIE, or Hypoxic Ischemic Encephalopathy. In its basic breakdown, HIE is a reduction in blood and oxygen, which can lead to a brain injury for a baby. That's it in our context, a reduced level of blood and oxygen that can lead to a brain injury for a baby. Now, you can have multiple things during the pregnancy or during labor and delivery that can contribute to a baby having a reduction in blood and oxygen. And so first of all, you could have genetic issues. If there's something that is genetic that is going on, that can in some instances impact a baby's blood and oxygen flow. Number two, you can have developmental type of issues that may arise, and it's going to happen during pregnancy as the baby is growing. You could have developmental issues, and those can impact a baby's blood and oxygen supply. And number three, which is the context of this video, you could have birth trauma. You could have something that occurs during labor and delivery, and the doctors and the nurses, for whatever reason, they don't assess it, or they don't diagnose it, they don't treat it, and that can lead to a baby suffering a brain injury. It can lead to a reduction in blood and oxygen. Namely, for example, if you have an umbilical cord that becomes compressed during the labor and delivery process. If that occurs, then that can, of course, reduce the level of blood and oxygen getting to a baby. Now, how does all of this work in the context of the strips, the electronic fetal heart monitor? I'm going to show you a quick example of what these strips, what they look like. This right here is what we're talking about, what we're discussing. These are strips. This is what the strips would look like in some instances, okay? So this is just a simple example of an electronic fetal heart monitor and what the strips look like. You've got two sets of lines. As you can see, the top line is going to deal with the baby's heart rate. It's going to look at that type of thing. It's going to be looking at variability, acceleration or deceleration patterns. The bottom part is going to be mom's contractions. So those bottom lines, those would be mom's contractions. And when we are analyzing these cases and trying to have an idea as to what caused the baby to suffer a brain injury, those strips that I just showed you, they are really important. Because what they do is they will allow the doctors and the nurses to see in real time how the baby is progressing and how the baby is tolerating a vaginal delivery. And if those strips, if there are problems on those strips, if the readings are showing, for example, fetal distress, and that could be, you could have late deceleration patterns that could be on the strips, you could have tachycardia, you could have bradycardia, you could have minimal or absent variability, you could have all of these things, or tachycycly, moms having too many contractions. All of these types of things and more will be shown on the strips. And so that is why the electronic fetal heart monitor, that is why those strips are really important when we are assessing whether that brain injury that your baby has suffered, whether it was something that was going on during labor and delivery, and for whatever reason, as I said earlier, the doctors and the nurses, they missed what was on the strip. They missed that the child was in fetal distress, and that is what led to the baby suffering a brain injury. So I just wanted to make sure that I talk with you today, because we get that question a lot. We get, well, Mr. Boston, my baby has an HIE diagnosis, and I want to know, like right now, can you tell me on the phone right now if that injury was due to something that the hospital, the doctors and the nurses did, or did something else cause that injury? And so I'm hoping that this video today will help you understand or have a better understanding of the assessment, the steps that we have to take. Now remember, before I get out of here, remember the fetal heart strips are just one piece of the puzzle. There are records too that we have to look at. Mom's records, we've got to look at the baby's records, we've got to look at the strips, and all of these things. We look at these in conjunction, and then we're able to make an assessment and be able to help families understand what was going on during labor and delivery. One more thing too, in some instances, those strips, what I just showed you, that strip, that page was one page out of like 350 or 400 pages of strips. So depending on how long the labor goes on, you can imagine the strips are going to be, they're going to be long or short depending on how long mom was in labor. If you have more questions, if you would like to speak with me further, maybe you are here today, you're watching this video because you have an HIE diagnosis or you have a subsequent CP diagnosis and you've got questions. You're trying to figure out, okay, was this something that the doctors or the hospital, the nurses, was this something that they caused for my baby, or was it some other cause? And the reason why this is important for me is because I'm concerned about the challenges that my baby's going to face in the future. I'm concerned about medical bills and medical treatment and care that my baby's going to need. If you have these things going on and you would like to speak with me further, what I invite you to do is to go ahead and pick up the phone and call me. There's a telephone number down below. Go ahead and call me. I speak with families about these issues. We talked about HIE today, hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. We talked about fetal strips, accelerations, decelerations, tachycardia, all of these things. We talked a little bit about that today. If you've got a subsequent CP, cerebral palsy situation, or MAS, if you've got all these things going on and you would like to speak with me, like I said, pick up the phone and call me. One more thing, I know I said that before, but one more thing. I practice law here in the state of Maryland. And if you contact me and you're not in Maryland, because this video is on the internet, just understand that if this is something that we think that we could assist you with, that we have to use co-counsel or local counsel. In other words, an attorney in your state, and that's something that we will help you with if we think that this is something that we can assist with. But I just want to make sure that you understand that local counsel or co-counsel aspect of things. All right, that's going to be it for today's educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here in the state of Maryland at Boston Law Group, LLC. And we will see you next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.